I guess maybe lastly, I'd just like to ask you about what you would say about unity consciousness, what that is to you.
Well, everything is one. So for me, unity consciousness is just recognizing the oneness. So it starts as an idea, like anything does. And the more we honor that idea as truth, then the more we start noticing evidence of that idea as truth. So as you then just continue to honor that idea, you start to feel connected, you start to see the connections, you start to notice how the different dimensions of mind, emotion, and create into the body and the world. So unity consciousness is really just evolution of awakening. So rather than it being a yes or a no, it's really a progression, just like awakening and enlightenment is. Someone might say, yeah, I believe in unity consciousness, but that's just, do you believe in the idea? Like that's just the start. That's the first touching of the energy. But then experience builds the understanding and builds the energy, and the energy is actually blissful oneness. So
Mm-hmm.
we're all like on the spectrum of unity consciousness. Like how fully are we awakened into the experience of oneness? So for me, it's the evolution of the soul. What we are is individual points of consciousness. And when we return to the source or the first dimension of creation, we realize everything was always one. And then that's this explosion of bliss. Then you come back into all the separate forms and you realize everything was one from the start. I just didn't know it. And then you try to live with that understanding and that energy as much as you can. So you keep bringing more of that bliss into your human life.
Mm-hmm. So when I think my evolution with this concept was that, yeah, we're all one. We're all part of Earth, right? So we're all one human species inhabiting Earth. So it's just this idea that, yeah, we're all one. And then when I started working with you and understanding that I'm not just a physical human body, I mean, I kind of had that idea before, but to start to experience myself as a body of consciousness, right? So we're bodies of consciousness. Now, everything I see, so just like the dream is one thing appearing as separate forms. And even the space is all one thing. And so when I look out now, and I know this is a dream too, right? So even this empty space is actually the mind of God. And the physical forms, all of us are too. We're all God. But so again, one thing appearing as many, right? Many things, separate forms appearing as one thing. But what happens when I really do that, when I really sense and feel and understand and look around and know that this is all happening inside of me, that I start to feel the space vibrate. I start to feel the forms. I don't feel like they're me yet, right? Like I don't feel like I'm inside the cabinets. I don't feel that, but I feel closer to everything and closer to everyone. And it is like kind of a surrender feeling. You relax because you're no longer afraid of things. And as soon as you're afraid of things, you create that separation again. So that separation comes back is ego consciousness or human consciousness, separation consciousness. But also it's the idea that all frequencies are God. God is the all that is. And so that means all frequencies are God. High and low frequencies are all God. And they're all available. Now, whether we choose to align to something is up to us, right? So, but that frequency has the right to exist. And when I embrace that concept, then you feel again more wholeness. So you feel more oneness, you feel more complete again. And I feel like that's where we have to go. Like that's where we are going. I don't think that's where we have to go, but I think that's the trajectory that most of us are on. But what's interesting to me about that is the fact that I feel the physical world differently. And I feel like that is what Jesus knew, experienced all the time. And I also feel like that's how he was able to manipulate the physical reality, right? Because when you realize that more and more and you have the experience of there may be a point, I am not there, but when you understand that you are everything that in front of you, that you're experiencing, then there might be a way. Well, then you have more control. Eventually, I think I'll have more control over how it's all working, right? So, like, how did he? I guess one of the things that I'm still trying to like understand is how did he walk on water? And I guess it could be just the belief, the knowledge that he could, like, not just an idea, not just as a concept. He knew that he could. He really understood what things were, and so he could make it manifest like that. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't know what Jesus's experience was, so I wasn't necessarily there to witness it. But I know from my own experience that the more I do recognize that I'm communicating with the universal intelligence, that's how I understand it, the more I recognize that I'm always interfacing with the mind of God, the more easily things do manifest. And they manifest in more specific ways. And for me, it's undeniable. Some people would say, well, how do you know if it wasn't just chance that it happened or it wasn't going to happen anyway? It's like, no, not like this. Like, I have concrete examples that were very, very definite. And I enjoy that. So for me, there's been a process of cultivating more of that understanding you've talked about and trying to live within it and like participate in life in such a way. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's my personal mind becoming more of the mind of the universe, mm-hmm. and watching that interaction happen. And it doesn't negate my own personal mind. So when I first started researching spirituality long ago in college, the way I understood the translations, because they were all from other cultures, is that your personal self vanishes and is replaced by the universal mind. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's a characteristic of the negative aspect of Eastern spirituality, where they're trying to negate and remove the self and remove the world. And it's a very resistant-based process, and because it vilifies your personal self in that explanation. So for me, it's always been rather, how can I expand to become one with everything, rather than how can I destroy myself and destroy my mind and all of that. That never felt true for me or right for me. It didn't make sense that God would make a mistake. We're not supposed to destroy something that God created. We're supposed to evolve something that God created, because when I look around myself in the universe, that's what everything's wanting to do. Yeah. And that's what's happening with everything. We're constantly evolving.
Yeah.
So for me, the next evolutionary step, like your book, HOMOSPIRITUS, is becoming more of that unity state of consciousness. And it's not just belief-based. It starts with the belief, but as we live the belief, it becomes experiential. Mm-hmm. So when you were telling your story about, just thinking that you're one with everything, and then your experience drastically changes and you feel the energy and you notice things, for me, that's the evidence that you're replacing the understanding that the world gave you. So most people walk around in their whole life living the identity of being a physical body. They don't think that they're the physical body, but they're always living according to that idea. Mm-hmm. When you introduce the new idea that I'm not the physical body, I'm the all that is, you're replacing the core idea. So you're building the foundation of a brand new experience. Mm-hmm. So you're rewriting the story that the world gave you since you were a young child. Yeah. And I think that's why it's so noticeable and so dramatic when, as soon as you step into the idea and embody it, everything starts changing in your entire perceptual field of life. Mm-hmm. Because that identity of who I am is really that powerful that it shapes how everything's being perceived.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really beautiful. I'm still working through some beliefs.
That's the human journey. Yeah. That's what you said. Bashar said, we're masters of limitation.
Yeah,
so you're mastering your limitation.
Yeah. And I really I really just have learned to understand, to accept whatever's going on, there's a benefit for me.
Definitely.
Right? So even if it's the hardest thing, I just had a friend that died of a brain tumor. And it was kind of a really beautiful thing to watch, though, in the way that he handled it. But also he was a yogi, and he had such a big community, and he was such a vibrant person that he took us through the whole process. Like, he recorded, he was always on, not always, but he would let us know what was going on with his Instagram posts. And you would think, why would anyone create a brain tumor for themselves, right? But the love that he was experiencing from the community was really profound. And I was on the phone with him once, and he goes, I feel like my heart just like broke wide open, because he was receiving so much love from his community. And again, we're not experiencing, the way we experience time is very linear, and can be drawn out based on your perception. But that's really not what's happening. And I really feel like he manifested that to bring people together, to let them feel love and appreciation for their own lives. And he got to just like really bathe in that energy for a solid year of his life. Like, he got to feel everybody's love. It brought his family closer together, his friends closer together, community. I mean, it really was a beautiful, beautiful experience. And we're human beings. So I really feel like, and one thing I realized during that experience, the Kundalini Rising experience, I was actually leaving before I actually exploded into a light being. I was leaving when I could see everything was just a projection. I was waking up on the other side, and I could feel that I was doing that. I felt like this was a dream and it was just going away. So, and I've been told, but I never made it quite to the other side, but I've been told that like when you wake up there, you're with everybody else. Everybody we're here with now, we're with up there. So it's not like we wake up there and we're sad that we left, because everybody's there.